Welcome, everybody. I'm joined by Steve Sanders, who runs the Star Wars CCG Retro League, and we're here to talk about the new tournament that's starting this weekend, which is going to be Premier to Reflections 2. And Steve wanted to talk about what makes Reflections 2 an interesting set to add to the meta and why this might be sort of the best retro format. So let's go through the format. Steve, you're our maestro here.
Thanks, Matt. Glad to be back on. Yeah. So if you're watching this when it goes up, we are starting the fifth event for the 2023 Online Retro League on GAMP. This will be Premier through Reflections 3 with 2 cards banned.
Reflections 2.
Sorry, what did I say? Reflections 3? Yeah, Reflections 2.
Yeah.
Reflections 2 with 2 cards banned, Watch Your Step and Agents of the Black Sun. And I'll get into those cards in a second. But yeah, this is going to be unique because those 2 cards are particularly Watch Your Step is typically super dominant in the Reflections 2 meta. And with removing that, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be the first time this has ever been tried before. And my theory is this could be the best, most complete classic Star Wars CCG meta. A lot of people think that, Reflections 2 is the last great set. I like them all, but yeah, this does kind of feel like the end of an era for Star Wars CCG. So yeah, we'll see how it plays out. And if you're interested in joining, it's not too late. If you're seeing this before Friday, the 22nd, we'll leave a link to how to sign up in the comments so you can get a last minute sign up for this thing. Okay, but let's get into it then. I'm not going to go through every card in the set, but I want to talk about some of the most impactful cards in Reflections 2 for Light and Dark Side and how it might shake up the meta. Now, I think without Watch Your Step, so, Watch Your Step, you've had a whole video on this, I think, before, Matt. Just a broken card. It's super powerful, and it warped the entire Reflections 2 meta around it. It's out. So my theory right now is you're going to see similar decks to the last couple of metas, a couple of events in the Retro League, Premier Death Star 2 and Premier through Jabba's Palace sealed deck. But you get a lot of really cool toys that could change up the gameplay in interesting ways. And we'll see if that affects which decks are more powerful. But let's just kind of go through some of the most important cards here and talk about which ones you're going to be looking to include in your decks or looking to combat. And I'm not going to talk about every card, but only the most interesting ones. And Matt, feel free to stop me if you've got any questions or if you think I got anything wrong on this.
Sure.
But let's just kind of start with the characters here. This is the order that GAMP puts them in, and I'll come back to this. First of all, this Admiral's Order, no questions asked. I don't think we're really going to see this because I think this is mostly a card that goes with Watch Your Step for independent ships, so we'll just skip that. Let's look at the characters, though. R2 and 3PO gets added in this set. For those of you who are not super familiar with Reflections 2, most of the cards in here are from the expanded universe of the 90s. So you got cards from Shadows of the Empire, the Zahn novels, like the Thrawn trilogy, and a little bit from Rogue Squadron. So yeah, that's kind of what we're looking at here. This is R2 and 3PO from Shadows of the Empire when they're piloting the Millennium Falcon, I think over Coruscant. This is a really cool card because piloting the Falcon is fun. All droids can be battled, could be interesting. And the ability to take no battle damage if you have no ability, that's kind of cool. But really what's cool about this card is you can take a card with bad feeling in title from reserve deck. And usually you're going to be using that to tutor up R2, I have a bad feeling about this from Jabba's Palace, which it's the first couple parts are interesting. The last part is if R2 and C3PO are in battle together, opponent draws no battle destiny. So because this is a combo card of R2 and 3PO, they are together, and you can tutor this, and your opponent draws no battle destiny, which can be really insane to blow out your opponent. They think they got 2-3 destinies, this kind of situation going on, and now they have 0. So yeah, big fan of that combo. You'll probably be seeing that in some decks, particularly in like a ground-based Prophet kind of Tatooine deck. Definitely could see that. Moving on to Chewbacca Protector. I think this is a cool version of Chewbacca. I think this might be the best version of Chewbacca that you have in this meta. Obviously, like Chewbacca with his gun can be cool, or Chewbacca from Endor, if you're doing scouts, is good. But this one, he deploys really cheap with Leia. And this last part about having the ability to cancel the game text of an opponent's character of ability of power less than 4 is really cool. If you're initiating a battle, that means you can turn off the like permanent weapons on several different characters, not Vader, but like on Forlom, you can turn off Forlom's gun, which then would turn off, which does the same thing, canceling one of your own character's game text. So that's pretty cool. I like his stats, and I like how cheap he is to Leia. So I think that you want to think about adding him to any kind of ground deck. Probably the best character in Reflections 2 is in the set itself is Corran Horn from the Rogue Squadron novels. He's awesome. I think you're probably going to put him in almost any light side deck. He's a spy of ability 4, so you can play him on your opponent's non-battleground sites, meaning sites where you would normally have no force icons you couldn't deploy. And he has an ability 4. I think he's the only spy of ability 4 on the light side. So you drop him, surprise some scrub that the opponent's got, like a Commander Marajek kind of guy who's sitting at a Scomp link pulling system. Surprise that guy on like turn 1 or 2. Ability 4, draw Destiny, kill Commander Marajek, and perhaps have some overflow battle damage. I think he's pretty cool. He also can break cover, so you can say goodbye to U-3PO for good. And he's just got like good stats, especially with Aspire Bounty Hunter, a little immunity to attrition. And he's a Rogue Squadron member, so if you've got the Wedge from Death Star 2, you can put them together and cancel out your opponent's battle destiny. So yeah,
okay,
he's pretty
great.
good. Dash Rendar, not a ton to say here. He's a smuggler. First of all, cool to see Dash Rendar from the Shadows of the Empire game, looking very 90s action hero hunk. Yeah, look at those.
Yeah, one of the
specs.
things Andy and I were debating is like, where do you think this character actor's at? Like, what's he doing right now?
I saw
Give us a shout if you're watching this video.
Definitely in his like 50s or 60s. So he's probably not going to see as much play without Watcher Step because that used the smuggler keyword. But him and the Outrider are still pretty decent, kind of a mini Millennium Falcon combo here. I think if you're playing any kind of Starship deck where you have squadron assignments to pull matching pilots, you want to think about this, particularly if Han is committed on the ground and you're not doing a Super Falcon. This might be a good little combo to have. Lebo, not as great. Most people don't run him because he doesn't actually add anything to the power of the ship. Okay, let's talk quickly about Luke Skywalker Rebel Scout. He's kind of the poor man's Luke Skywalker Jedi Knight, and I was definitely stoked to pull him when I was like 15 and the set came out. But 9 times out of 10, you're probably better off with Luke Skywalker Jedi Knight, particularly since we're playing on GEMP where they're free. But he does have one interesting thing about him, which is he's an anti-Bring Him Before Me. So Bring Him Before Me is really dominant in the meta. Okay, so if escorted by Vader and take your father's place, meaning the 7 side, the flip side of that epic of that objective are on the table, you can immediately move Vader with Luke to the throne room. Now, at first when I read this as a kid, I thought that wasn't very good because I thought the point of that objective was to like cross Luke to the light side, and you wanted to be at the throne room for that. But really, that's really hard to do. And instead, what this does is it moves Vader off the table, essentially, because at the throne room, he's not going to do any battling. So the big thing about Bring Him Before Me is it takes one of the best light side characters away from the light side, Luke. This guy takes the best dark side character away, and you're not going to be winning any battles with Vader if he's sitting over there, so you're probably not stacking cards on your destiny. Anyway, it might be worth running one copy of Luke Skywalker Rebel Scout in your deck, particularly as the event goes on, you're seeing lots of Bring Him Before Me. This could be an effective counter.
Well, the other thing just about him is if you're doing anything with scouts, he's also a scout. There's not.
He's a scout. That's true.
Yeah, so it's a decent little extra text there.
That's true. He's a scout. So yeah, if you're playing a scout deck, of course, Luke Skywalker Jedi Knight is a scout also, but you're not losing that by taking away Jedi Knight. So yeah, worth thinking about. I think I've been running one in some of my Premier Reflections 2 decks, just as a counter. Mirax Tarek, cool expanded universe character from the X-Wing novels, I believe. She's interesting. Usually you see her in Watcher Step, but she could again be good in this. She lets you do some stuff with moving cards from your hand to the bottom of your use pile to draw the top card of your reserve deck. So people who are into tracking can make effective use of her. On the Pulsar Skate, again, decent pilot ship combo, maybe. Onan Brular's not worth playing, kind of a meme card. Skipping that. Talon card, cool. Timothy Zahn is the model for this. This card is awesome, but he doesn't do a ton outside of Watch Your Steps. I don't think you'll be seeing him. I'm going to mostly skip over Mercenary Armor and Obi-Wan's Journal. These cards are just don't quite get there. They're kind of have some fun stuff to them, but they're not going to make a 60 card cut typically. Okay, now we're getting into the combo cards. So pretty much all of these cards are usable in some way, and almost across the board, they're the versions you're going to run if you're thinking about running any of the component cards in them at this point. The best one is definitely Do or Do Not and Wise Advice. This really puts the final hurt on Sense and Alter and makes it that your opponents are probably going to run very few copies of Sense and Alter in their decks because most people are packing this or the dark side version. It just does everything that the 2 component cards do. Makes Sense and Alter lost. Opponent loses 2 force, immediate fixed deploy for free, and cards canceled with Sense and Alter are used instead. So this is pretty much a no-brainer to run. Now, you do get a combo version of Alter and Sense in here, which is nice because it gives it a second half to that card should you decide to run it. But I feel like in the past, I've only seen people running 1 or 2 copies of Sense and Alter by this point in the game. So, yeah. But Control and Tunnel Vision is not affected by Do or Do Not and Wise Advice. This card is awesome and worth running. Does everything the component versions do, and Tunnel Vision is quite useful. So, yeah, you want to consider this card. Hujix and Tunnel and Out of Nowhere. Again, it's just combining 2 great cards. Hujix is like a one of in most people's decks. Out of Nowhere sometimes makes the cut, but now that it's added on, why not? Narshada Wind Chime is a great card by itself. The only drawback to this, I think it's a Destiny 4 rather than 5. But yeah, you're probably going to run this combo. Same thing with Out of Commission, Transmission Terminated to hurt on Hunt Down. The last one of these that's worth just briefly mentioning is Sorry About the Mess and Blaster Proficiency, which is just an awesome combo card because Sorry About the Mess is great to get rid of undercover spies or take pot shots at people during control phase. Having the ability to also have a Blaster Proficiency, which is another one of those cards that's like kind of good but doesn't always make the cut. It's just fun to have that flexibility. So yeah, I think that's the light side. Matt, any thoughts on light side before we move to dark?
No, it's just fun to go through the characters. I'm just reminded how enjoyable these cards were to pull, and it's nice to not just to have like 54 cards. I think there are total, and they're all somewhat useful. Right? There's no fluff in here. Maybe
no fluff.
Questions asked or something. But all right, let's go to the dark side here.
Okay, 1 second.
I'm trying to think of what I'm going to run because I don't know. So
I haven't decided either yet. I'm still thinking about it. Okay, again, Agents of Black Sun is banned. Not as broken as Watcher Step. I think we just decided to keep them both out to balance the meta. Black Sun Fleet is the Admiral's order that goes with independent starships. And this one is a little better than the other one, I think. And I think it's mostly because you run independent ships more frequently in Darkside with other decks like Court or the Vile Gangster. Mm-hmm. I'm still not sure this is good enough to run because it says here an independent ship with an alien pilot character board, not a permanent pilot. Doesn't mean nutrition less than 4. That's pretty much just going to be the 2 ships in this set we're going to talk about. And you don't get to retrieve force for initiating battle. That's kind of a non-bow with things like Scum and Villainy. So I'm thinking you're probably not going to end up running this, but worth thinking about. Let's go through the characters here. Arica, this is Mara Jade in disguise as a dancer. On her face, this is a really good card because she is an undercover spy with the ability to draw destiny. And she does some other fun things, reducing Luke's forfeit. You can break her cover to fire a weapon. All really great stuff. But the problem is the Mara Jade from Enhanced Jabba's Palace is just so much better. Yeah. And I think you're always going to run that version. So, I mean, everybody knows why that one's good. She draws her own lightsaber out of the deck and she's like a mini Vader. So I don't really ever see this card getting played. It's kind of a shame. If it was a different person, it would be.
I never noticed on that card that Jabba has his tongue out.
Yeah, he's just ready to go. Yeah, it's a funny card. All right, Captain Palaeon, who I believe we've seen in live action recently in the Disney canon, looking nothing like this. But this guy is okay, but I've also never seen him really gotten played because I just don't think he quite gets there compared to other like unique kind of Imperial officer types. I suppose if you're running some kind of Star Destroyer build with a lot of copies of Thrawn, maybe, but I don't know. His doesn't seem quite impactful enough to me.
Yeah,
adding armor and hyper speed.
Yeah, who cares about hyperspeed usually?
Yeah, usually. Yeah, so it's just not quite good enough. But on the other hand, Dr. Evazan and Ponda Baba is awesome because Dr. Evazan by himself was great. He was running a lot of decks in every meta since Premier onwards. And now this is just more of a good thing. He still does the same thing of operating on characters who are hit by weapons, make them immediately lost. He's now power 6, with only a nominal bump to his deploy cost. And he gets to draw Battle Destiny if not able to otherwise. So why not?
Destiny 3? I didn't realize Destiny 3. That's good.
Yeah, that's solid. This guy's good. Run him in, I would probably run him in most ground decks. Grand Admiral Thrawn is, I think, the best character in Reflections 2 for Dark Side, maybe even period. Because Thrawn's cool, just obviously. But also his ability 4, so that's great, meaning you can pretty much put him anywhere and he's helpful for you. But if he's piloting a Star Destroyer, not just the Chimera, but any Star Destroyer, he adds a Battle Destiny. If not able to otherwise, he just adds a Destiny. So that's great. So his own Destiny of being ability 4 on a Star Destroyer, that's 2 Destinies. Of course, he's an Admiral, so you got your Imperial Command to either tutor him or add more Destinies. So yeah, he is very good. And I would put him in, I'd probably put him in almost any Dark Side deck, but certainly if I got a Star Destroyer or 2 in the deck. The funny thing is, it appears they just made his skin blue by like doing some primitive version of Photoshop to tint the whole thing blue. All right.
We got Guri up next. I like Guri. I actually run her. I run her with Shizor, so I actually don't know how good she do with the Black Sun.
I think she's pretty good in a lot of decks, and I think I've been running her in my Bring Him Before Me deck, and certainly in any kind of Court of the Wild Gangster deck, because she does have good stats, power 6 deploy. So that's good. But let me jump to her ship for a second. Her ship is really cool because it has a permanent pilot, but you can deploy her aboard, suspending the permanent pilot, and she's free. She's normally kind of expensive at 6, but on their ship, that's a 2 deploy for the ship and the pilot. And you can add a Destiny. If not able to otherwise, you can add a Destiny with immunity to attrition of less than 5. So she's very good on the Stinger. On the ground, very solid also. As long as Vader's not there, you're suppressing your opponent's Battle Destiny draws, which is cool. No more than 1 Destiny for your opponent. Immunity to attrition less than 5. And she's her bodyguard. So yeah, this is really
I used
cool.
to always pair her with Switch Off, which cancels an opponent targeting a droid. So it can be really annoying because you can't target Shizor when she's there, so you just can't kill him. And then you can just switch off weapon, which is also a Destiny 6, so it's just a good card to run. So
that's real good. Yeah, I'm into
something
that.
I'll probably be doing myself.
Definitely. Jabba's Prize. I'm not going to spend too much time on this card. I don't think Carbon Chamber Testing is still playable, even though this card helps at a good deal. What this card is there for is to make it so you don't have to. You start Carbon Chamber Testing, you get a rebel captured at the security tower, and in the original version of that deck, you had to go and freeze them before you could then move them to the audience chamber and flip to turn a dozen turns. Now you start the frozen captive, skip all the frozen stuff. All you have to do is just move it to the audience chamber. And you can probably do that in 3 turns, maybe. And then you get the benefits of the flip side, which is decent, but it's just still not as good as Court of the Vile Gangster, which can do it from turn 1, which is pinging your opponent for damage, bounty hunters +2 forfeit. This one, I think Carbon Chamber Testing makes it you retrieve a force a turn in your bounty hunters or immune to attrition less than 4. No, it's still not good and not good enough to run. So I'm going to skip that.
The best thing about that card is the back of it, which is like a frozen Han. I don't know if you can click the back.
Yeah. This is it's a cool card to have in your binder, definitely. And I wish it would. I think in open, this card is good. I think maybe even a virtual version of it. And Carbon Chamber Testing is good in open, but won't get to in this video. Okay, moving on to Kirkanos. This is an interesting card. It reminds me of a Magic card, like something from one of the sets with Upkeep. On his face, this is kind of good. Deploy 2, power 5. Okay. Armed with a Force Pike adds a Destiny. Great. But once during each of your deploy phases, you lose 1 force or place Kanos and cards deployed on him in the use pile. If Emperor on table, you can use a force instead. Okay, so I might maybe think about putting him in Bring Him Before Me. If you've got the Emperor on table pretty much the whole game. But I don't even know. Maybe I'll give him a try, but beyond that, the losing a force every turn thing is too rough.
Yeah, it's almost like you want to send him out in like a suicide mission, right? It's like you just put him out to be forfeited to give you a little power boost.
And unfortunately, you have to lose the force the turn you play him because it's each deploy phase. So
each deploy phase, yeah. So
even the turn you deploy him. So yeah, I don't know. I've never seen him get played. Maybe I'll try and bring him before me, but I'm thinking probably not super strong. But Prince Shizor is awesome. He is one of the best cards in this set. Power 5, ability 3. So he is, he's drawing a Battle Destiny if not able to otherwise. But then the big thing is total ability of 6 or more required for opponent to draw Battle Destiny here. That's awesome because a lot of times people put down ability 4 thinking that they're set in case they get surprised the next turn. You drop him instead, suppress that Destiny, and he's getting a Destiny even if it's just himself. So I can set people for some real pain. I like him a lot. And then if his Virago is also very good, like the Stinger, it's got a permanent pilot, but it can be suspended by deploying him. Shizu deploys cheaply aboard, adds a Destiny, and immune nutrition less than 5. Yeah, this is a good combo ship too. Snuva. Snuva's a cool bounty hunter. Definitely, you're going to add him to Court of the Vile Gangster or any bounty hunter-centric build. He's better than a lot of the bounty hunters that you have available to you. Power 6, deploy 5. 4 is weak, but in core, I think it's bumped to a 6, so you're fine. And then, during your deploy phase, you can pull a Vibroaxe from your deck, and the Vibroaxe can either exclude, which is what its text does, or capture instead, depending on what you want to do. Sometimes you want to exclude the person in the battle. Sometimes you want to capture them, depending on if you think you're going to have Snuva survive the battle or not. He's cool. It makes Vibroxes kind of good.
All right, let's go to the Cheap Man's Emperor.
Cheap Man's Emperor. Again, when I was 15, this guy was awesome to pull from a pack. I got the Emperor, but he's just not really useful in any build except maybe Agents of the Black Sun, and probably not even there. The thing is about him, he only does one interesting thing, which is if Vader or Caesar is here and Luke is not on table, adds 2 to attrition against opponent at other locations. But I just don't see a lot of scenarios where that's going to work out for you, where he's hanging out with Vader or Caesar and your opponent is not playing Luke. So I don't really see that.
Also, that means that Vader and Caesar have to be in Death Star 2 or Coruscant, which is probably not. Anyways. Yeah.
No, unless you've moved the Emperor slowly to the other side. I don't think this is it's pretty limited value. And so since Emperor Palpatine is free on Gamp, use him. Vigo, not that useful without Agents of the Black Sun. So we'll skip over.
He's fun in Agents of the Black Sun. You can do some fun stuff.
He definitely is. Definitely. Yeah, he's definitely good in Agents of the Black Sun. Absolutely. Getting into the combo cards here. Sun's Down and Too Cold for speeders. Probably not going to play this very often, but maybe you'll find some use for it. There's a Trine of Oppressive Enforcement is the Sense and Alter suppressor for the dark side. Abyss and Ornament. A lot of these are the same as the lighted versions, so I'll probably just skip through most of these. This is good. It's just like Narshada Wind Chimes, Get Your Control. Dark Maneuvers and Talon Roll. This is kind of interesting. It's basically everything from the 2 base cards. Destiny 6. I like that. It might be worth putting in some of those TIE Fighter builds you see running around. I just don't know. The issue is, even if you run this, can you get a single TIE Fighter powerful enough to take out whatever ships the light set are running? Maybe against an X-Wing Swarms you could. But I like the Destiny 6, and you can always cycle it pretty easily in a TIE deck. So maybe think about that. I didn't spend much time on the licensed version of this card, the Grimtosh combo, because Grimtosh and Monarch aren't as big of a thing in this format where people aren't drawing 25 card hands anymore. But this one does still cancel Revolutions because it's got the Vader part of it. So, maybe consider one of these. If Revolution is not as big of a thing anymore in this meta because most people know that there's counters to it. But other than that, I think everything else is the same. Again, Sniper and Dark Strike. This is a really cool card. Yeah,
great card.
Just like sorry about the Mess and Blast Proficiency. And I think that is the Death Star. The Premier Ref 2 cards to be on the lookout for this upcoming League event.
Great. And once again, we'll leave if you want to sign up. If this sounds cool, there's still time. I'm posting, I think, on Tuesday, so you have until Friday to register. Fun event. I think we have over 60 players, 55, 60.
Yeah, we're going to be in the 50 to 60 range, depending on how many people signed up the last couple of days. So it's going to be a big event.
yeah, good tournament. Thanks so much for walking us through, Steve. Folks, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. We want to continue to kind of grow the community.
Definitely.
But thanks so much, and we'll catch everybody next time.